Taiwan's fingers trembled as he fought with the ship's controls. Warning lights flashed across the command console, bathing his face in alternating red and yellow. His small scout vessel, the Pathfinder, drifted helplessly through the empty blackness of Sector 7, contested space where Earth forces rarely ventured. "Come on," he muttered, trying once more to restart the primary engines. Nothing happened except another alarm joining the chorus. The attack had come without warning, 3 swift strikes from an unknown vessel that vanished as quickly as it appeared. Taiwan wiped blood from his forehead, where he'd struck the console during the initial hit. The cut wasn't deep, but head wounds always bled dramatically. It was the least of his problems now. "Mayday, Mayday," he called into the comm system. "This is Lieutenant Commander Taiwan of Earth's Scouting Fleet. My ship has been attacked and systems are critical, requesting immediate assistance." He knew the transmission would likely go unanswered. The nearest Earth outpost was at least 2 days away at maximum speed. His oxygen would run out long before then. The temperature in the cabin was already dropping as life support systems diverted remaining power to essential functions. Taiwan's breath created small clouds in front of his face. "Systems failing. Pressure dropping," he whispered, more to hear a human voice than for any practical purpose. The silence of space felt overwhelming now, pressing in on his small craft like a physical weight. He thought of his parents back on Earth, of the small apartment in New Seoul where he'd grown up. Would they be proud of how he faced his end? Alone in empty space, with no one to witness his final moments. Taiwan's eyes grew heavy. Oxygen deprivation was setting in. He struggled to keep them open, fighting against the biological urge to sleep. Sleep meant death out here. He focused on the stars outside his viewport. They seemed to swim and dance now, beautiful in their cold indifference. One star seemed brighter than the others, pulsing with a strange blue light. Odd, he thought. Stars didn't pulse that way. The blue light grew larger. Captain Jia stood perfectly still on the bridge of the Starweaver, her tall frame casting a long shadow across the polished floor. She was studying the distress call that had interrupted their patrol of the border regions. "Put it through again," she ordered, her voice calm but firm. The communications officer nodded, replaying the desperate human voice. Jia listened carefully, noting the strain in the man's voice, the barely controlled panic. "Location?" she asked. "Less than 20 minutes at standard speed, Captain," replied her navigator. The signal originated in the Krill Nebula sector. First Officer Du-hyun stepped closer to the captain, lowering his voice. "Captain, it's a human scout. Protocol dictates non-interference in human affairs, especially in contested regions." Jia's luminescent eyes, a distinctive feature of the Solidian species, narrowed slightly. The silver markings along her blue skin seemed to shimmer with intensity as she considered her options. "Since when does saving a life count as interference?" she asked. "Since the Treaty of Proxima established clear boundaries," Du-hyun replied stiffly. "The humans would not save one of ours." Jia turned to face her first officer fully now. The bridge crew pretended not to listen, but every ear was tuned to the conversation. "You don't know that," she said quietly. "And even if it were true, I didn't become captain by following protocols that lead to needless death." Do-hyun's posture stiffened. "The council will not approve." "I'm not asking for their approval," Jia cut him off. "I'm the captain of this vessel, and I make the final decisions on matters of rescue operations." She turned to the rest of the bridge crew. "Prepare retrieval teams. Set course for the human vessel." "Yes, Captain," came the chorus of responses, some more enthusiastic than others. Jia knew her decision would be controversial. Relations between humans and Solidians remained tense even 20 years after the orbital conflicts. Many of her own crew had lost family in those brief but brutal exchanges. But Jia had spent her career fighting against the prejudices of her people, the belief that humans were lesser beings, too volatile and unpredictable to be trusted. She had risen through the ranks despite whispers about her human sympathies. The Starweaver changed course, its powerful engines carrying the sleek vessel toward the drifting human scout ship. Jia watched through the main viewport as they approached. "Life signs?" she asked. "One human," reported the science officer. "Vital signs declining rapidly. Oxygen levels in the vessel are at 14% and falling." "Tractor beam engaged," announced the operations officer. "We have the human vessel." Jia nodded. "Bring it into Bay 3. Have medical teams standing by." Do-hyun still looked unhappy, but he knew better than to challenge the captain once her mind was made up. "I'll supervise the retrieval," he said stiffly. "Thank you, Do-hyun," Jia replied, genuine appreciation in her voice. "Be gentle with him. He's likely to be confused and frightened when he wakes." The first officer nodded curtly before leaving the bridge. Jia turned back to the viewport, watching as the small human craft was carefully pulled toward the Starweaver's docking bay. She knew she was taking a risk, not just with the Council, but with her own crew's trust. Many would see this rescue as foolish at best, dangerous at worst. But something about that desperate voice had resonated with her. The human was alone, facing death with whatever courage he could muster. Jia respected that. And perhaps, just perhaps, this small act might begin to bridge the vast gulf between their peoples. Taiwan's consciousness flickered like a dying light. The blue glow filled his viewport entirely now. His oxygen-starved brain registered that it was a ship, an enormous vessel compared to his scout craft. Not Earth design. The realization should have frightened him, but he was beyond fear now. The last thing Taiwan saw before darkness claimed him was the sleek alien vessel with pulsing blue lights surrounding his small craft in a gentle embrace. Not an attack, a rescue. His final thought was simple confusion. Who would want to save him out here, so far from home? Then blackness claimed him completely. Taiwan woke with a jolt. His eyes opened to an unfamiliar ceiling, smooth and curved, with strange glowing lines that pulsed with soft blue light. The air smelled different too, cleaner somehow, with a faint scent like ocean spray. He tried to sit up, but pain shot through his chest. A gentle beeping sound increased in tempo nearby. "I would not move so quickly," said a melodic voice from his right. "Your body is still healing." Taiwan turned his head to see a figure standing beside what appeared to be a medical bed. It took his brain several seconds to process what he was seeing. She was tall, perhaps 2 meters in height, with skin the color of a clear earth sky. Intricate silver markings ran along her arms and up her neck, catching the light when she moved. Her eyes were the most striking feature, large with no visible whites, just luminescent irises that seemed to shift between silver and pale blue. A Solidian. Taiwan had only seen them in training videos and intelligence briefings. "Where am I?" he asked, his voice raspy. "You are aboard the Starweaver," she replied. "A Solidian vessel. I am Captain Jia." Memories flooded back, his damaged ship, the oxygen running out, the blue lights approaching. He should be dead. "You saved me. Why?" Taiwan asked, studying the azure-skinned captain whose silver markings shimmered under the medical bay lights. Jia stood tall, her posture perfect. "Because it was right. But you should know, by our laws, you are now life-bound to me until an equal debt is repaid." "On what?" Taiwan sat up too quickly, wincing as pain lanced through his ribs. "Please, be still," Jia said, stepping closer. A medical device on the wall chimed in response to his movement. "Your body suffered significant trauma." Taiwan slowly eased back down, but kept his eyes fixed on the alien captain. "What do you mean life-bound? Am I your prisoner?" "Not a prisoner," Jia clarified, "but honor-bound. My people take life debts seriously." She moved to adjust something on the medical display, giving Taiwan a moment to process her words. In Solidian culture, when one saves another's life, that life is connected to them until a debt of equal value is repaid, she explained. "It is one of our oldest traditions." Taiwan frowned. "So I have to save your life to be free." Jaya's expression was difficult to read, but he thought he detected amusement in those strange eyes. Essentially, yes. Though there are other ways the debt can be fulfilled. Service of significant value. A great sacrifice. These can also balance the scales. Tae-won let out a short laugh, which he immediately regretted as pain shot through his chest again. I don't mean to be ungrateful, but this seems convenient. You rescue me and now I'm bound to serve you. Jaya's face became very still. I did not rescue you to gain your service, Lieutenant Commander Tae-won. I could have left you to die. Many would say I should have. The seriousness in her tone made him reconsider his words. I'm sorry. Thank you for saving my life. She nodded once, accepting his gratitude. Rest now. We will speak more when you are stronger. Wait, Tae-won called as she turned to leave. My ship. Earth Command needs to know I'm alive. We have already sent notification of your rescue to Earth authorities, Jaya replied. They are aware you survived. With that, she left the medical bay, the door sliding shut silently behind her. Over the next 3 days, Tae-won regained his strength. The Solidian medical technology was remarkable, accelerating his healing beyond anything Earth medicine could achieve. He met other crew members, some coldly professional, others openly curious about the human in their midst. It was on the 4th day that the first transmission from Earth Command arrived. Tae-won was in a small meeting room, a security officer named Sunho standing silently by the door. The face of Admiral Park filled the screen, his expression thunderous. Lieutenant Commander, are you being held against your will? No, Admiral. I'm being treated well. Then you will return immediately. The Roosevelt has been dispatched to your coordinates for extraction. ETA 18 hours. Tae-won hesitated, glancing at Sunho, whose expression remained neutral. Sir, there's a complication. According to Solidian custom, I'm under a life debt to Captain Jia. Admiral Park's face darkened further. I don't give a damn about alien customs. You're an Earth Fleet officer. With respect, sir, ignoring their customs could damage diplomatic relations, I believe. Your beliefs are irrelevant, Commander. This is a direct order. Prepare for extraction. The transmission ended abruptly. Tae-won sat back, a knot forming in his stomach. Later that day, Captain Jia called him to her private office. Unlike the sterile perfection of the rest of the ship, this room contained personal touches, strange crystalline sculptures, what appeared to be handwritten scrolls in the flowing Solidian script. Your people are demanding your return, Jaya said without preamble. Yes, Tae-won replied. The Roosevelt will arrive tomorrow. Jaya studied him carefully. The life debt does not supersede your freedom, Tae-won. I will not hold you if you wish to return to your people. Her words surprised him. But you said, I told you our customs, but forcing you to honor them would make you a prisoner, which is not our way. She paused. However, breaking a life debt has consequences in our society. If you leave, I will be seen as diminished in the eyes of my crew and my government. Tae-won considered her words carefully. The honorable thing would be to stay, to respect the customs of those who saved him. But his duty to Earth Fleet was clear. Yet something else tugged at him too. Curiosity about this alien captain who defied her own people's prejudices to save him. A chance to learn about a culture humans had fought, but never truly understood. What would my staying involve? He asked finally. You would serve aboard the Starweaver, Jaya replied. Not as a prisoner, but as a crew member. You would learn our ways, help us understand yours. Perhaps in time, you would find an opportunity to fulfill the life debt. And Earth Command. We can negotiate. Perhaps a diplomatic arrangement. You would remain in contact with your people. Tae-won thought of Admiral Park's anger, of the simple return to his old life that awaited him. Then he thought of what he might learn here, the bridge he might help build between their species. When the Roosevelt arrived the next day, Tae-won stood in the communications center of the Starweaver. Captain Jia stood beside him, her tall form motionless as Earth Command demanded once more that their officer be returned. Tae-won stepped forward. "I'll stay," he said firmly. "At least until diplomats sort this out." What he didn't say was how intrigued he was by the captain who defied convention to save an enemy. How much he wanted to understand the complex honor system that bound them together. How, for the first time in his career, he felt he might be doing something truly important. As the Earth vessel departed, Tae-won felt a strange mixture of apprehension and anticipation. He had no idea what awaited him aboard this alien ship, bound by ancient custom to its enigmatic captain. But somehow, it felt right. Tae-won stood in the observation deck of the Starweaver, watching stars streak by in ribbons of light. 3 months had passed since he'd chosen to stay aboard the Solidian vessel. 3 months of learning, adapting, and slowly gaining acceptance among the blue-skinned aliens who had once been Earth's enemies. He touched the small translator at his throat, a device that had become less necessary as he picked up the musical Solidian language. He could now manage basic conversations without it, though complex discussions still required assistance. "Impressive view, isn't it?" asked Sun-ho, the security officer who had been assigned as Tae-won's guide. Over the weeks, their professional relationship had warmed into something resembling friendship. "Never gets old," Tae-won agreed. "On Earth ships, the observation decks are always crowded. Here, I often have it to myself." Solidians prefer to experience space through the neural interfaces in their quarters, Sun-ho explained. "Direct sensory connection, rather than visual observation. Another thing humans can't do," Tae-won said with a small smile. Sun-ho's silver markings shimmered slightly, their equivalent of a shrug. "Different, not lesser." These words reflected the change in attitude Tae-won had witnessed. His first weeks aboard had been difficult. Many crew members had avoided him or treated him with cold formality. Some had lost family in the conflicts between their species. Others simply distrusted humans as violent and unpredictable. The turning point had come during an unexpected radiation surge that damaged several key systems. Tae-won's experience with similar issues on Earth vessels had proved invaluable. He had worked alongside the engineering team for 30 straight hours, earning respect through sweat and determination. Now, most crew members acknowledged him with the traditional Solidian hand gesture of respect. A few even sought his company during meal periods. "The captain requests your presence in her quarters," Sun-ho said, interrupting Tae-won's thoughts. "For your strategy session." Tae-won nodded. These weekly meetings with Captain Jita had become the highlight of his routine. What had begun as formal discussions about human and Solidian tactics had evolved into more personal exchanges. "Don't keep her waiting," Sun-ho added with a knowing look. Tae-won made his way through the curved corridors of the ship, nodding to crew members as he passed. The captain's quarters were located in a quiet section of the command deck. He pressed his hand to the scanner beside her door, which recognized him, and chimed softly. "Enter," called Jaya's voice from within. The door slid open to reveal a spacious room that blended function with personality. Unlike the sterile uniformity of most Earth vessel captains' quarters, Jaya's living space contained objects that reflected her interests and history. Crystalline sculptures, ancient-looking texts, and strangely beautiful plants that seemed to pulse with inner light. Jia sat cross-legged on the floor beside a low table where a chess set was arranged. Chess had been Tae-won's contribution to their cultural exchange, while Jaya had taught him the complex strategy game of Kuvul that Solidian commanders used to hone their tactical thinking. "You're punctual as always," Jaya said with approval. "A quality both our species value." Tae-won took his place across from her. "Sun-ho said you wanted to see me." "Yes. I've been practicing the game since our last session." Jaya gestured to the chessboard. "I believe I'm beginning to understand the underlying patterns." Tae-won smiled. Jaya's quick mind had grasped the rules of chess immediately, but the subtleties of strategy took time to master, even for a Solidian captain. They began to play, the familiar rhythm of the game creating a comfortable silence between them. Taiwan observed how Jaya studied each piece before moving, her luminous eyes calculating possibilities. "Your knight is vulnerable," he pointed out after her latest move. Jaya frowned slightly. "Show me." "You hold it like this," said Taiwan, adjusting Jaya's grip on the human chess piece. "It's about anticipating moves ahead." Jaya nodded thoughtfully. "In that way, it's like command," she observed, always seeing the pattern beneath the pattern. Their fingers brushed momentarily, causing both to pause. Taiwan felt an unexpected warmth in the brief contact. Jaya's skin was cooler than human temperature, with a smooth texture unlike anything on Earth. The moment stretched between them, neither quite meeting the other's eyes. "3 months ago," Taiwan said quietly, "I never imagined I'd be teaching chess to a Solidian captain." Jaya's silver markings shimmered in what Taiwan had learned was amusement. "And I never imagined having a human aboard my vessel, at least not as anything other than a prisoner." "Things change," Taiwan said. "People change," Jaya corrected. "Systems resist change. Societies resist even more strongly." There was something in her tone that prompted Taiwan to ask the question that had lingered in his mind for months. "Why did you really save me?" he asked. Jaya set down the chess piece she'd been holding. For a long moment, she was silent, and Taiwan wondered if he had overstepped. "My people once believed different meant dangerous," she finally said, her voice softer than usual. "I refuse to accept that. It cost me everything." The pain in those last words was unmistakable. Taiwan waited, sensing there was more to the story. "I had a brother," Jaya continued, "Jinho. During the early conflicts with humans, he advocated for peaceful contact. He believed we could learn from each other instead of fighting." Her markings dulled slightly, a sign of sadness. "The military council branded him a traitor. He was stripped of his position, his name removed from family records." "What happened to him?" Taiwan asked gently. "He disappeared on a solo mission near Earth space. The official report claimed human forces destroyed his vessel, but I found evidence it was our own people." Jaya's eyes met Taiwan's directly. "He was eliminated for believing humans deserved to be treated as equals." Taiwan felt the weight of her words. "And yet you became a captain in the same fleet. To change things from within. To prove Jinho was right." Jaya's markings brightened with intensity. "When I saw your distress signal, I heard my brother's voice in my mind. I couldn't let another life be lost to our people's fear." Taiwan reached across the table, hesitated, then gently placed his hand over hers. It was a bold gesture. Physical contact between different ranks was uncommon among Solidians, but something told him it was right. "Your brother would be proud," he said quietly. Jaya looked at their hands, but didn't pull away. "Perhaps, but my actions have not gone unnoticed by the High Command. Rescuing you, keeping you aboard. There are those who whisper I follow too closely in Jinho's path." "Are you in danger?" Taiwan asked, concern sharpening his voice. "All change brings risk," Jaya replied with a small smile. "But I have allies too. Your presence here, what you've shown my crew about humans, it matters." Taiwan. Before Taiwan could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed in the ceiling panels. Jaya was on her feet instantly, all vulnerability vanishing as she transformed back into the captain. "Bridge report." She snapped into her communication device. The voice of First Officer Du Hyun came through, tense and urgent. "Unidentified vessels, Captain. 3 of them, heavily armed. They've appeared from nowhere on an intercept course." "Battle stations," Jaya ordered. "I'm on my way." She turned to Taiwan, her expression unreadable. "Stay here. It's safer." Taiwan stood as well. "With respect, Captain, if you're under attack, I want to help." "The life debt." "This is not about the life debt." Jaya cut him off. "These could be Earth forces for all we know." "All the more reason I should be there," Taiwan argued. I can identify Earth vessel classes immediately. Jaya hesitated, then gave a sharp nod. Very well. But you follow my orders without question. Understood, Captain, Taiwan replied formally. As they hurried toward the bridge, chess pieces scattered across the floor behind them. Taiwan felt a strange certainty. Whatever threat approached, it would test not just the ship's defenses, but the fragile trust that had formed between them. And somehow, he knew that nothing between them would be the same after today. The bridge of the Starweaver was in chaos. 3 unidentified vessels had appeared seemingly from nowhere, their weapons already charged. They moved with precision, cutting off escape routes and jamming communications. Shields at 60%, reported the tactical officer, her voice steady despite the situation. Captain Jia stood at the command center, her tall form rigid with concentration. Identify the vessels, she ordered. Tae-1 studied the attacking ships on the main display. Not Earth design, he confirmed immediately. The hull configuration is Solidian, but modified. First Officer Do-hyun shot him a suspicious look. Impossible. No Solidian vessels are registered in this sector besides ours. Another impact rocked the ship. Crew members grabbed consoles to stay upright. Shields at 40%, called the tactical officer. They're targeting our propulsion systems. They don't want to destroy us, Jaya realized aloud. They want to board. As if confirming her words, a transmission cut through the static on their communication system. The face that appeared on screen was Solidian, male, with war markings Taiwan had never seen before. Captain Jia, the Solidian said, his voice cold. This is Commander Hajin of the Purity faction. Your vessel will power down immediately. Resistance will result in casualties among your crew. Jaya's expression remained neutral, but Taiwan saw her markings darken, a sign of intense emotion. Commander Hajin, she replied evenly. Your faction has been declared illegal by the Solidian High Council. Stand down, and we can resolve this without bloodshed. Hajin's laugh was harsh. The same High Council that grows weak with human appeasement. The council that allows traitors like you to command vessels. His eyes flicked to Taiwan. We know about your human pet, Jia. Your brother would be ashamed. Jaya's markings flashed with anger. Do not speak of my brother, Hajin. Power down, or we will take your ship by force. The transmission cut off. Do-hyun stepped closer to Jia. Captain, these extremists are dangerous. The Purity faction has been attacking ships that support cooperation with humans. Unaware of their activities, Jaya said grimly. Alert security teams. Prepare for boarding. Tae-1 moved to Jaya's side. Captain, what exactly is the Purity faction? Before she could answer, the ship rocked violently. Emergency lights flashed. Hull breach in Section 7, shouted the tactical officer. They'd deployed boarding pods. Jaya's voice cut through the chaos. All personnel, battle stations, security teams to Section 7. Do-hyun, you have the bridge. She turned to leave, but Tae-1 caught her arm. I'm coming with you. Jaya hesitated, then nodded. Together they raced through the corridors toward the breach point, joined by a squad of security officers. The sound of weapons fire echoed ahead of them. These people, Tae-1 asked as they ran. They're after you specifically. Jaya's face was grim. The Purity faction believes humans and Solidians should remain separate. Any cooperation is seen as contamination. They've been attacking ships and outposts that support peaceful contact. And you're a high-profile target because of me, Tae-1 realized. Because of my choices, Jaya corrected. You are simply the evidence they use to label me a traitor. They rounded a corner to find 2 security officers down, their blue skin darkened with injury. Ahead, the corridor was filled with smoke from damaged systems. Jaya knelt briefly beside the fallen officers, checking their vital signs. Alive, she confirmed. Get them to medical. She ordered one of their team. Suddenly, Energy blasts erupted from the smoke. Jia and Taiwan ducked behind a bulkhead as the corridor wall beside them melted from the impact. At least 5 attackers, Jia whispered, drawing her sidearm. Well armed. Taiwan peered around the edge of their cover, trying to get a better view. The attackers were moving forward methodically, using Solidian military tactics. Jia, came a voice from the smoke. Come out and face judgment. Your death will be quick, unlike the slow corruption you bring to our people. Taiwan recognized the voice from the transmission. Commander He Jin himself was leading the boarding party. More security personnel arrived from behind, but the narrow corridor created a bottleneck. Any direct assault would result in heavy casualties. They're advancing, Taiwan warned. We need another route. Jia touched a panel on the wall, bringing up a ship schematic. There's a maintenance passage 2 sections back. We could circle around and flank them. They retreated carefully, finding the narrow service tunnel that ran parallel to the main corridor. As they crawled through the cramped space, Taiwan sensed Jaya's tension. Your brother, he said quietly. He Jin mentioned him. Did they know each other? Jaya's markings dulled. They served together. Once, they were friends, before ideology separated them. They reached an exit point that would put them behind the boarding party. Jia readied her weapon. Wait, Taiwan said suddenly. Something's not right. Why would He Jin announce his presence? Why not just hunt you silently? Jia froze, her eyes widening in realization. It's a diversion. As if on cue, her communication device activated. Captain. Du Hyun's voice was urgent. Second boarding party detected. They're heading directly for the bridge. It's a trap, Taiwan hissed, pulling Jia back from the exit. They're here for you, but not here. This group is drawing security away from the bridge. Jaya's face hardened with determination. We need to get back to the bridge. Now. They reversed course, moving as quickly as possible through the ship's interior passages. Jia updated security teams as they went, redirecting forces toward the bridge. When they emerged on the command deck, the evidence of battle was clear. Bodies of crew and attackers lay on the floor. The air smelled of burned circuitry and weapon discharge. Stay behind me, Jia ordered, but Taiwan shook his head. Not a chance. They moved forward together, weapons ready. The bridge doors were sealed, but damage to the locking mechanism showed where attackers had forced entry. There's a shuttle bay 2 levels down, Jia whispered. You could return to Earth space. This isn't your fight. Taiwan looked at her, this alien who'd risked everything for principles. That's not happening. Jia held his gaze for a moment, then nodded. She overrode the damaged door controls, and they slipped onto the bridge. The scene before them was tense. 5 armed Solidians held the bridge crew at weapon point. Du Hyun was on his knees, face bloody but defiant. Standing in the center was Commander He Jin. Ah, Jia, he said without turning. Right on schedule. Let my crew go, He Jin, Jia said calmly. Your quarrel is with me. He Jin turned slowly, his silver markings glowing with intensity. My quarrel is with all who would dilute our species by consorting with humans. His eyes focused on Taiwan with disgust. Your presence proves how far she has fallen. Taiwan saw Jaya's fingers tighten on her weapon. I won't ask again, she said. Release my crew. He Jin smiled coldly. You think this is about prisoners? This is about purification. In a swift motion, he raised his weapon toward Jia. For the purity of Solidia. Time seemed to slow. Taiwan saw the weapon charge, saw the lethal energy building. He saw Jaya's stance shift, preparing to fire back, but He Jin had the advantage. She wouldn't survive the shot. Taiwan didn't think. He acted. 3 months of learning Solidian ways, of understanding Jaya's vision, of seeing the possibility of peace between their peoples, all of it crystallized in a single moment of clarity. The final confrontation came on the bridge. As the separatist leader raised his weapon toward Jaya, Tadwan didn't hesitate. He lunged forward, taking the full blast meant for her. The pain was beyond anything he had ever experienced, like fire and ice simultaneously consuming him from the inside. He heard shouting, more weapon fire, but it all seemed distant and unimportant. His body crumpled to the deck. He felt cool hands turning him over, saw Jaya's face above him, her markings pulsing with distress. The last thing he heard was Jaya's anguished cry, a sound that transcended species and language, pure emotion that needed no translation. Then darkness claimed him completely. Light filtered through Taiwan's eyelids. He tried to move, but his body felt heavy, distant somehow. Pain lingered at the edges of his awareness, held back by something that made his thoughts feel slow and cloudy. "He's waking," said a voice. Taiwan forced his eyes open. The medical bay ceiling came into focus, along with the face of the Solidian doctor, Minji. "Welcome back," she said, her markings pulsing with what Taiwan had learned to recognize as cautious optimism. "You've been unconscious for 9 days." 9 days. The memories flooded back. The attack, the bridge, Commander Hajin raising his weapon toward Jita. The burning pain as he jumped between them. "The captain?" he asked, his voice a dry rasp. "Unharmed, thanks to you." Minji adjusted something on his medical monitors. "She rarely left your side the first 3 days." Taewon tried to sit up, but Minji gently pressed him back down. "Your body is still integrating the treatments. We had to use unconventional methods to save your life." He frowned. "What methods?" Minji hesitated. The weapon was designed to cause maximum damage to Solidian physiology. Ironically, being human gave you a slight advantage. Your cellular structure is different, but the damage was still severe. She paused. "We had to use experimental regenerative therapy. It's never been attempted on a human before." Taewon managed to lift his hand to look at it. His skin appeared normal at first glance, but as he turned his wrist, he noticed something strange. Faint silver lines traced just beneath the surface, like delicate circuitry, similar to Solidian markings, but subtler. "What happened to me?" he asked. The treatment involved Solidian genetic material as a carrier for the regenerative compounds. Minji explained. "There were side effects we didn't anticipate. The integration was more complete than expected." "Am I still human?" The question came out before he could consider how strange it sounded. Minji's markings shimmered with what might have been amusement. "Yes, mostly. Your DNA is still primarily human, but there are now Solidian markers integrated throughout. The silver traces are the most visible sign." She checked a readout on her device. "You may discover other changes as you recover. Enhanced night vision, perhaps improved healing. We're not entirely sure." Taewon let his hand drop back to the bed, trying to process this information. Before he could ask more questions, the medical bay door slid open. Captain Jaya entered, her tall form instantly commanding the space. Her eyes found Taewon's immediately. "Captain," Minji said formally, "the patient is stable but still recovering. Please keep your visit brief." Jaya nodded, and Minji discreetly left them alone. For a moment, neither spoke. Taewon had never seen Jaya look uncertain before, yet now she stood with her hands clasped behind her back, her markings pulsing with emotions he couldn't quite interpret. "You look terrible," she finally said, her voice gentler than he'd ever heard it. Taewon managed a weak smile. "Not my best day. You nearly died." The simple statement carried the weight of the 9 days she had waited for him to wake. The blast was meant to kill instantly. It should have killed you. "Sorry to disappoint," Taewon said. Jaya moved closer, her markings flashing briefly with something like irritation. "That is not humorous. What you did was..." She paused, searching for words. "Foolish, brave, unexpected." "What happened after?" "The attackers neutralized," Jaya said flatly. 3 killed, including Hejin. 2 captured. They await trial on Solidia. She seemed reluctant to discuss it further. Your actions changed everything, Ta-1. How so? When the High Council received my report, a human sacrificing himself to save a Solidian captain, it created quite a stir. They've been forced to reconsider many of their positions regarding humans. Ta-1 tried to absorb this. And the crew. They've taken to calling you the Shield of Starweaver, Jaya said, a hint of amusement in her voice. Even Du-hyun speaks of you with respect. Ta-1 shifted uncomfortably under the intensity of her gaze. I just did what anyone would do. No, Jaya said firmly. You did what no one expected a human to do. And in doing so, you fulfilled the life debt in the most absolute way possible. She straightened her posture, suddenly formal. The life debt is fulfilled, Jaya said, standing beside Ta-1's recovery bed. You are free to return to your people. Ta-1 looked down at his hands again, now faintly traced with silver markings, a side effect of the Solidian medical procedures that had saved him. He flexed his fingers, watching the silver lines shimmer in the light. What if I don't want to go? He asked quietly. Jaya's markings pulsed rapidly, surprise, then something deeper. Explain. Earth Fleet will want to study me now, he said, gesturing to his altered body. I'll be a curiosity, a specimen. But more than that. He met her eyes directly. What we started here, understanding between our species, it matters. I can do more good here than returning to Earth. Jaya studied him, her luminous eyes unreadable. And the life debt was never why I stayed. Ta-1 finished for her. Not really. Something shifted in Jaya's expression, a softening around her eyes, a brightening of her markings. The High Council has requested a liaison officer to help establish new diplomatic protocols with humans, someone who understands both cultures. She paused. I submitted your name. You want me to leave the ship? Ta-1 couldn't hide his disappointment. No, Jaya said, her markings shimmering with what he now recognized as amusement. I want you to stay, as my first officer. Ta-1 stared at her in shock. First officer? But Du-hyun has requested transfer to a new vessel. He says working with you has changed his perspective on humans, but he needs time to adjust to the idea of serving under one. Jaya's markings pulsed with approval. It is a beginning. Over the next month, as Ta-1 recovered, news of the incident spread across both human and Solidian networks. Across the galactic Reddit channels, their story became a sensation. The human who took a killing blast for an alien captain, the Solidian who defied her culture to save an enemy. Species who had viewed each other with suspicion for generations began to reconsider. Earth Fleet initially demanded Ta-1's return, but when the full implications of his genetic alterations became clear, their attitude shifted to scientific interest. A compromise was reached. Ta-1 would remain aboard the Starweaver as both first officer and official liaison, with regular medical data transmitted to Earth. The transformation went beyond Ta-1's body. As the first human-Solidian hybrid, he became a living symbol of what cooperation between their species could achieve. Other ships began experimental exchange programs. Research collaborations flourished where there had once been only military standoffs. 6 months later, as the Starweaver prepared for its next mission, Captain Jia and her human first officer, Ta-1, stood side by side on the bridge. The ship had been assigned to patrol the newly established joint territory, space where humans and Solidians worked together openly. The crew, once divided in their acceptance of Ta-1, now moved with unified purpose. Sun-Ho managed security with quiet efficiency. Min-ji continued to monitor Ta-1's unique physiology, documenting new adaptations as they emerged. Jaya turned to Ta-1, her markings glowing with an emotion that needed no translation. Ready? She asked. Ta-1 nodded, no longer bound by debt, but by something far stronger. A shared vision, a mutual respect, and perhaps something more personal that neither had yet fully named. Always, he replied. As the Star Weaver moved into the stars, Tai-1 thought of how a simple rescue had changed the course of two civilizations, how one life, saved on principle, had rippled outward to touch countless others. And he knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, not as human and Solidian, but as pioneers of a new understanding, different, yet stronger together than either could be alone.